Шановні пані та панове, їх високоповажності президент України Володимир Зеленський, прем'єр-міністр Королівства Іспанія Педро Sánchez та прем'єр-міністр Королівства Данія пані Мете Фредеріксен. Заява президента України.
Дякую. Доброго дня всім. Пані прем'єр-міністр Данії, пане прем'єр-міністр Іспанії, пані та панове, шановні журналісти, шановні присутні. Радий вітати в Києві глав урядів Данії та Іспанії. Для мене це велика честь, для нас це велика честь. Наші гості, керівники урядів держав з різних регіонів Європи, але сьогодні вони разом з нами. Це дуже важливо, я підкреслюю, на наші зустрічі. Дуже важливий, потужний сигнал для наших і це дійсно сигнал, який об'єднує Україну і об'єднує Україну з європейською єдністю в боротьбі проти російської агресії. Важливий знак солідарності і підтримки України. Ми цінуємо, а також важливо практичну допомогу, що надаються вашими державами Україні саме в такий важливий складний час. Ми провели сьогодні допомогу сил. Вдячні Данії, вдячні Іспанії за допомогу посиленню спроможності оборони України. Це те, що потрібно нашій державі, нашому народу, для того, щоб себе захищати. Ми вкотре пересвідчили, що Україна має потужну міжнародну підтримку. Ми цінуємо, вдячні. Також ми домовилися далі активно працювати над посиленням санкційного тиску, який має посилюватися доти, доки агресія проти Російської Федерації не зупиниться. Дуже хочеться, щоб ці санкції підуть партнерами одної думки, що вони не витримують глибокі, що вони були реально дії санкції, які реально відчувалися. Я б навіть підкреслив, Російська Федерація,
I like to underline that the Russians and Russian military should feel bad not very good after such sanctions. I'm convinced that we will be successful, and this is something we have discussed, that should we impose those sanctions, we need to impose them effectively and comprehensively. We should not only raise the issue with regards to limitation of the supply of energy resources from Russia to Europe. It should be an embargo, an oil embargo, gas embargo, and today we have discussed the reinforcement of financial support to Ukraine. We're talking specific projects on the reconstruction of our country after the war. These are the projects that our guests would participate in, and this will happen. This would mean not only the assistance with the reconstruction of Ukraine after the ruination caused of the Russian Federation, which will be a difficult task, but it's not only the reconstruction, it's about the unity, so that the people of different nations would feel that they've made an important contribution in the future of Ukraine. And we'll also talk on Ukraine's movement towards the European Union, and we believe that Ukraine has earned an accelerated path towards the European Union. We truly count depends on your support, on the support of your teams, on the support of your people, your society. We believe ourselves equal. We do not believe that we are better, but we truly believe ourselves to be equal. We want to be in the same union with the partners and friends who are today with us and who are helping us, and I'm very grateful to you for that. Thank you.
Заява прем'єр-міністра Королівства Іспанія.
Thank you, President Zelenski, for your kind invitation and for helping us to make this trip possible. This is a special year for Spain and Ukraine as we celebrate 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations between our two countries. My visit today is the first ever paid by Spanish Prime Minister of the government to Ukraine. And although I would like to come to Kiev in completely different circumstances, I can assure you that this is an honor for me to be here today with you and the Prime Minister of Denmark, Mette Frederiksen. We have come with two main proposals. First, to convey our full support to Ukraine in these very difficult times, and second, to warn President Putin about our firm determination to condemn this unfair and unjustified war. Since the beginning of Putin invasions, Kiev and Ukraine have become the heart of Europe, a strong symbol of courage and dignity in the defense of the high values and principles upon which Europe is founded. Being here in person gives me an even more clear perspective of what is at stake and makes me even more determined in my firm commitment to support Ukraine as much as we can in our national capacity. You have clearly expressed, President Zelensky, your European vocation, making use of your right to choose your own destiny. You have our support in this legitimate aspiration. It is clear that you belong to European family. I will bring back with me to Spain your testimony, a testimony of hope represented by Ukrainians' resistance, but also a testimony of rejection and indignation for atrocities of the war and its perpetrators. Today from Kiev I want to say to all the Ukrainian people that you are not alone. Europe is with you. The world, I believe, is with you, and we will not abandon you. Let me be clear. Europe stands united with Ukraine, and Europe stands united against this illegal and unfair war initiated by Putin. We want peace for Ukraine, and we want Putin to be held accountable for his crimes. We'll keep on helping Ukraine and Ukrainian people until we reach our goal, which is peace, justice, and freedom for Ukraine. Over the past 3 weeks, Spain has sent humanitarian aid and significant amounts of military material, medical supplies, and weapons. 11 planes with 170 tons of military equipment have already been sent, and we are contributing financially to the European Fund for Peace for the European Union with around 120 million euros. We are fully committed with European Union sanctions to Putin's regime. We have approved the humanitarian package worth 31 million euros, the largest commitment ever made by Spain to a single country. Spain has activated a reception system to address the ongoing humanitarian crisis. We have already gave international protection to 66,000 refugees, and around 137,000 people have arrived to our country. The Spanish people has demonstrated once again their solidarity with those in need. But I am aware that the needs are enormous, and Spain is committed to help. For this reason, we will continue to provide all our political support, humanitarian and financial assistance, and military equipment to Ukraine. In this regard, I would like to make the following announcements. First, on the military side, I want to announce that a new shipment of military material is on its way to Ukraine. In fact, a ship of the Spanish Navy, the Isabel, sailed off today from a Spanish port bound for Poland, loaded with 200 tons of modern ammunition and all the material. The ship carries 30 trucks, several special heavy transport vehicles, and 10 smaller vehicles loaded with the military material that will be transferred to Ukraine. This is the largest shipment made up to now, more than doubling what we have sent so far. Second, although the military support is essential to be able to win and end this war, I firmly believe that we must also fight against impunity, especially after visiting Volodímir this morning. The atrocities committed in Ukraine cannot go unpunished. For this reason, my country, Spain, is going to immediately respond to the request for support made by the Office of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, the ICC, to investigate and prosecute those responsible for committing war crimes, genocide, and crimes against humanity in Ukraine. Spain is going to make available to the ICC a multidisciplinary team composed of at least 8 agents from the Ministry of the Interior, together with a team of 39 forensic doctors to conduct field work, as well as other experts to conduct laboratory work from the Ministry of Justice. The fight against impunity is a priority for Spain, and we will continue to cooperate with the ICC in full collaboration with the European Commission. Third, we will continue to protect the most vulnerable. The humanitarian aid provided by Spain will give priority to minors and women who are particularly vulnerable in conflict situations. Out of the 31 million euros we have committed, 7 million euros will fund the work of UNICEF and the United Nations Population Fund for this purpose. And fourth, Spain is going to reopen the embassy in Kiev. So President Zelenski, be sure that Spain is determined to support Ukraine in every way we can, and we will do so both bilaterally and within the framework of the Ukrainian Union. Thank you very much.
Заява прем'єр-міністра Королівства Данія.
President Zelensky, thank you so much for receiving us in Kiev today at a very difficult time for your country. I'm deeply moved by what I have seen, heard and felt here today. We have all worldwide seen the reports and images of the horrible crimes committed by Russia in Ukraine, but today we have seen it with our own eyes, and it is heartbreaking. I deeply admire the courage of the Ukraine people as you continue to defend your country against Russia's terrible war. And wherever you might be, home or abroad, I want you to know that all of Denmark stands behind you and your country in these dark times. From the beginning, Denmark has provided substantial support for Ukraine, politically, financially, through sanctions, and with needed equipment, especially the thing you needed the most, weapons. And we will do what we can to support Ukraine also in the future. I have therefore informed you, President Zelensky, today of substantial new contributions, including almost 600 Danish crowns, which is about $90 million for weapons. And this brings the total Danish military contribution to more than 1 billion Danish crowns. The support also includes demining, and we have seen it today how important it is if we want people to come back to the areas where they have lived their whole life. We have to demine, and we would like to work together with you to hopefully pave the way for reconstruction of Ukraine, especially in the areas where you have been able to push out the Russians, and congratulations on that. And we will support, as you also said, Pedro, the ICC in order to investigate the horrible war crimes committed by Putin regime. We know that this is extremely important for all Ukrainians that the world knows what has been going on, and that the families will be able to have the concrete results, and at the same time that we make sure that those who are responsible for this will be punished in the future. I have also made it absolutely clear to the President Zelenski that Denmark will remain a long-term friend and partner, and we will also like to invest in the long-term rebuilding of Ukraine. When you were speaking to the Danish Parliament, Zelensky, you asked us to take a lead. You asked Denmark to take a lead in rebuilding the city of Mykolaiv. And today we have said yes to that request, and we look forward to that cooperation with you, of course, but also with other international partners. Putin has tried to divide us and to push Ukraine and Europe apart, and he has already failed in that. If anything, these last months have demonstrated without any question that is, Ukraine is a part of Europe. A united European Union and our global partners have imposed historic, harsh sanctions on Russia, and Denmark is, of course, ready to do more. Thank you so much for your leadership. The whole world is watching you, and all of us in Europe are supporting you.
Дякую. Шановні колеги, журналісти, маєте можливість поставити кілька запитань. Давайте почнемо.
Now we have a chance to ask the question, so let's start with TV2 Denmark.
Rasmus Santon from TV2 Denmark. Mr. Zelensky, the Spanish Prime Minister, the Danish Prime Minister, they just announced that they will bring more weapons to Ukraine. But is it enough? Is it the right type of weapons you in general get from Europe right now? Do you get them in the right pace? I mean, there is a battle of Donbass going on right now. You need them very, very quickly. Do you get them quick enough?
Well, thank you for this question today. Most of our conversation was Madam Prime Minister and with the Prime Minister of Spain.
I will wait. It's very important. Yeah, thank you so much.
So indeed, we've spent most of the time of our negotiations to discussing the issue of weapons and the shipment of weapons to Ukraine. This is of an utmost importance. And indeed, we had a conversation about funding, those funding that could support our pensioners, those social benefits. This is where our partners could provide us support. You have to understand that the economy in the middle of the war is not about the economy. It's about closing different gaps. That's a difficult story, but still, without weapons there would be nothing. No economy, no pensions, no salaries. There would be no one to protect. And currently we are raising the issue to have what we need to defend our country. The people of Ukraine have united. This is important, but this is not enough to withstand the large army of Russians insisting on equipment. They have thousands of tanks, thousands of armored vehicles, artillery, many others, missiles. Well, I'm sure you've all seen that. The missiles are hitting everywhere, and currently we are holding this defense perimeter, but this defense perimeter should not be made only out of our soldiers. All of them are heroes. We would like to build this defense perimeter not only with soldiers but with heavy weapons. We have insufficient heavy weapons. We've talked a lot about this. We are grateful to our guests for the support of the systems in terms of the weapons that have already been allocated and supplied and the weapons that are en route to Ukraine. As for the priority needs, we don't have enough of them in Ukraine. It's not a question to Denmark or Spain. Large army, which doesn't care about soldiers. I'm talking about the Russian army. They don't care about casualties. But we care. And that's why we would like to save more lives. And to do that, we need heavy weapons, more of them. And frankly speaking, we don't have enough of them. And in our conversations, we told that we count on their supporters. These countries have some of the items of military equipment. We understand that there is a need for those military equipment for them as well. But this is an issue that we've discussed.
One more question. Mr. Zelenski, you were talking about sanctions. And in the European Union right now, you're discussing further sanctions. And I want to ask the Prime Minister of Spain and Denmark, are you ready to support sanctions also on oil and gas? First view.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, let me say, thank you very much for this question, but let me say that the most important, I would say, position of the European Union is unity. And in this unity, we've been able over these past weeks to approve the 5 package of economic sanctions. Very, very important package of economic sanctions. Not only approved, but also starting to deliver these economic sanctions in our countries. So these are, of course, proposals that some member states already have tabled in the European Council, but it is important that we keep this unity, because this unity is the main asset that we have vis-a-vis, of course, Putin, and regarding the solidarity that we are expressing, Prime Minister of Denmark and Prime Minister of Spain, to the Ukrainian people. But apart from speaking about we are going to ban the oil or the gas, let me just reivindicate the economic package that we already passed in the European Council, the one that the Commission is already working and will be presented in the coming days before the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and we will debate on these new economic sanctions. But I believe that the sanctions, the strength of our unity also represents something, a very important message, not only for the Ukrainian people, but also against Putin, and of course regarding our own populations that of course are behind their governments.
Sanctions are one of the most important tools we have in our pushback on Putin and Russia. And the Danish position is very clear. We have said from the very beginning that we want as hard sanctions as possible. And this is still the Danish position. And we are already now thinking about the next package of sanctions. And next to that, I would like to also to underline that the unity when it comes to sanctions is extremely important. And gladly, we have been able not only to decide and implement sanctions within the European Union, but also with our close partners, US, Canada, UK, and so on. So we will continue to push on with sanctions. And then, Rasmus, you asked another question, is it enough what we're doing? And a short answer, Zelensky gave a very long answer, a short answer is no. And as long as there is a war in Ukraine, then it's not enough what we are doing. We have already done a lot, and today we are bringing more, also weapons directly to, or we are saying that we are going to deliver weapons. But I think both of us, Pedro and I, are very much aware that as long as you need our support and help in all these different areas, humanitarian aid, financial support, political support, and also when it comes to weapons, we have to be prepared that this will maybe last for a long time, and we stand with you.
Yeah. так довго.
I talked for long.
Я говорив так довго для того, щоб
I gave you a written answer for the next time for you to say yes very shortly, very curtly.
Далі наступне запитання.
Next question, News United, please. I'm Marian Vasilieva. I'm from the United News Marathon. Of all the TV networks of Ukraine, I have two questions. One for President Zelenski. Today, Minister of Defense of Russia reported to Putin that Mariupol is taken by the Russian force, allegedly. Can you comment on this statement? And do you know anything about the destiny of our defenders in Mariupol? Is there any chance to save the heroic soldiers which are now defending the Azov Steel? The situation, as you know, is very difficult. The situation is very grave. Since yesterday, we cannot register any changes. You know that several thousand people were blocked. Our military and civilians also, which have been in the basements of Azov Steel, and about 120,000. I was talking to my colleagues about that. About 120,000 blocked in Mariupol, the peaceful citizens of that town. As to the humanitarian corridors to evacuate those people, we are working on it continuously and persistently, and continuously we managed to save some people. The Russians are blocking this process all the time. We had the exchange proposals for the wounded for wounded, and there are such signals received by the Russian Federation. I'm aware of that, and our military, the Azov regiment, know about this information because we are in touch with our boys there. But is Mariupol taken? Is it a true statement? I don't know what they state, especially the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation. I am aware of the fact that they have taken the major part of Mariupol a long time ago, and there's some part that is still a stronghold of our military, and they are still defending it. They're still there, as far as I'm concerned. Another question to Prime Minister of Spain. We know that in June the European Union is supposed to give us an answer whether the admission of Ukraine is possible, whether Ukraine can be a candidate for accession. And what's the position of Spain? What Spain would recommend to the EU colleagues of yours? We understand that our semi-devastated country is not a very attractive candidate from that point of view, but on the other hand, Ukraine is a shield between the democratic Europe and the barbaric world represented by Russia. So what will be the response of Spain, and are you ready to say yes to Ukraine? Thank you.
Well, thank you for this question. You know, Spain is not a founder of the former economic European Union, and nowadays the European Union. No? So we entered in the European Union back in the 80s of the 20th century. So this means that for a country like Spain, we're always positive on enlargement procedures, and we're always positive on joining other member states the European Union project. This is, of course, the philosophy and always how we enter in these debates. Secondly, the accession of the European Union for a country is a process of adaptation and transformation. And I told President Zelenski that, of course, Spain will always support Ukraine in this path. And I'm sure that the outcome of this process of adaptation and transformation would be the one that you mentioned.
Дякую. Радіо Spain.
Radio Spain, please.
From Sevilla, Spanish National Radio. President Zelenski, thank you so much for having us here. You talk about Mariupol. President Putin said today that Russian forces have total control of the city, probably except this stronghold of Azovstal, and he doesn't care about the fate of those people there, the Ukrainian fighters, and even the civilians. I suppose that there are 1,000 civilians in the stronghold and more than 100,000 civilians in the whole city. How can affect this situation and what is going on in Mariupol to negotiations with the Russian government?
Thank you for this question. I haven't heard that response from the President of Russian Federation, but if I should believe to what you've just mentioned with tourism, it's hard to tell how to respond to people who don't care much about everything. And believing human remains human only if it cares. But I would underline that deblocking the city of Mariupol, just like other cities of Ukraine, there's many of them, unfortunately, in Ukraine who were captured with their citizens hiding in the basements or being already tortured. And there's several ways of deblocking the city of Mariupol. There's a military way, and you need to prepare for that. And we are preparing to be capable of doing so. And this is where we would need the support of our partners. It would be difficult for us to be on our own. We would need some respective weapons to do that. But we are thinking of that. And then the other path, that's a diplomatic and humanitarian path. So even in case of people who don't care much, this could be a good path. We have offered several options, even an indirect option through mediators in the form of exchange to start exchanging wounded by wounded. There is over 400 wounded in this citadel, as you called it. Over 400 wounded. This is only about the servicemen. There is also wounded civilians, there is children, and I'm sure that they will survive and they will not forget about people who do care. So, exchange of wounded, this is something we've talked about, the exchange of our servicemen. We highly value the lives of our soldiers. We don't need any presents and any humanitarian steps from Russia. That's why we are ready to have any steps that would allow us to save our people. We are also interested in those people who were killed, and some of the people who were killed, and they were abandoned, they were left by the Russians, and we would like to return those bodies because we care. So there is a diplomatic path and a military path. There is no other paths. As for diplomatic, we've tried through Turkey, through the President Erdogan, if they are not willing to let the Ukrainians go to us, then they would be able to do that through the mediator. So we offered all the possible options. We're looking for their response.
And a question for Prime Minister and Prime Minister. After what you have seen today in the trip to Volodyanka, the surrounding areas, the villages, after what you talk with the people, ordinary people in the streets of those areas that has been under Russian control, do you think that there has been committed war crimes? Even more, what do you think? You can say that this has been kind of genocide, because there is some kind of polemic about that the word genocide. What do you think about that? And if Mr. President and Madam Prime Minister doesn't care, if they don't mind, after your answer in English, we are Spanish media, radio, television, if you don't mind to repeat your answer after English, also in Spanish. Thank you.
First of all, thanks for this question. I think that Prime Minister of Denmark stated in her first intervention, we were so touched in our visit this morning, also with the opportunity to speak with some citizens that told us their experience under the Russian occupation of these cities. And well, this is not a question that we should answer. It would be the ICC. But I think crystal clear in my first intervention when I stated that, of course, it could be a potential genocide in Ukraine. And sorry if I go in Spanish. En primer lugar, muchísimas gracias por la pregunta. Como le decía antes, tanto la primera ministra danesa como yo mismo hemos tenido la ocasión de poder visitar algunas de las zonas afectadas por la invasión rusa, hoy liberadas y bajo el mando del gobierno ucraniano, y nos hemos conmovido y nos hemos emocionado por los propios testimonios, tanto de los militares como de los propios vecinos y vecinas que durante días estuvieron bajo la ocupación rusa. Nos hablaron del trato que recibieron por parte de las tropas rusas, también de la imposibilidad que tuvieron muchos de los militares de poder recoger los cuerpos de sus compatriotas. Algunos de ellos debajo de los escombros tenían la constancia de que estaban vivos, pero no pudieron ser capaces de recuperarlos y por tanto murieron. Y en efecto todo eso es algo que, más allá, como decía la primera ministra danesa, de verlo en los medios de comunicación, y gracias además al trabajo que hacen ustedes, el poder verlo en primera persona es algo que emociona. Y en ese sentido, y respondiendo a su pregunta, creo que en mi primera intervención he sido claro. No solamente estamos hablando de crímenes de lesa humanidad, crímenes de guerra, sino que efectivamente tendrá que ser la Corte Penal Internacional la que, en fin, certifique o no si se han producido un caso de genocidio aquí. Pero yo en mi primera intervención he abierto lógicamente la puerta a ello.
Okay, thank you very much.
This is the end of the press conference. Thank you.